I got to come clean with this stuff. He's like, I can't sleep at night thinking about this.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it's one of the things, I'm more like a money therapist. It's a lot of my relationship with a lot of people.
That's
Money
the brand.
Money
Lorenzo.
Money therapist.
Money therapist.
So good. People off a ledge.
Conversations I never thought I would have with my accountant. How much did I pay for that penguin?
We actually stepped in and worked with the old founders to acquire that project. But when I was calling and telling my parents about it, like I was super proud. Like I'm like, yo, we're acquiring our first business. This is great. But in reality, what we're doing is taking over a Discord and getting like 5,000 JPEGs. I'm like, dude, that's how you acquire businesses in the new age. You know, you just say, hey, mom, dad, guess what? We're buying a bunch of 8-bit ducks. It's going to be great.
5,000 ducks.
Yeah. I'm successful now. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Rising Up by Faceless Labs. My name is Mack Alex, aka The Oracle, and I am your host on this episode of the official podcast of the Financial Revolution. Today, I am joined by my co-founder and partner in crime, Alex Popovich, aka The Heliomancer, and Lorenzo Abbatiello, Lorenzo Tax Crypto CPA Extraordinaire.
I guess I got to get a name like this, the Oracle. When I saw that, we were just laughing about that. What's yours, Alex? The helium, what?
The heliomancer.
The helium huffer.
It's a big old fancy wizardry fantasy word for someone who brings the light. So like I usually just use it because I'm always answering all the questions.
You need a cartoon with like the mustache.
There's actually a full-on anime emoji in the Discord with a growing mustache that gets posted relatively
frequently every day.
Yep.
Alex, I'm surprised the mustache didn't make it into your vault NFT.
You know, I thought about it, but I was just way more into the giant demon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't want it to be silly, I guess, and I felt like it's pretty hard to like.
The stash needs its own NFT collection.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, yeah. So anyways, today we wanted to have you on the show, Lorenzo, because the mission statement of Faceless Labs is to lead the financial revolution and empower the Faceless Many. Hence the naming of our entire NFT ecosystem, the Faceless Many. We actually met back in January, right? Mm-hmm. We met in Miami, and I think you would be great to come and just talk to our audience because you do crypto taxes, crypto finances, not just taxes, but more than that. And that was actually what interested me and Alex in talking to you. So maybe I can just give the general backstory and we can go from there.
For sure.
Because at the conference, we were at the North American Bitcoin Conference, great conference. And we were talking to Crypto Jeb's crew. He always rolls deep. Nice guy, super nice guy. And they said, oh, you know, like, our guy Lorenzo is here. And I was like, who's that? And like, yeah, he does all of our taxes. And I was like, oh, all right. Okay, sweet. Well, let's talk to him. So we go up and talk to you. And you instantly started going into advanced trust structures and ways to basically, beat the man at his own game, which is what everyone, aspires to do in America. And it was just really exciting. Like, we were like, wow, this is crazy, all the possibilities of this. And, we talked about taxes and we talked about trusts and the best ways to establish, our structures for the NFT project that we just launched, the Faceless Many. And then for the next
one, launched it then. It just came out.
Yeah. That was because we sold out completely like January 2nd or 3rd or 4th, something like that. So we were fresh. And since then we've launched, several other projects. But at that point it was very new and, we didn't know what to do. And then I think it's funny because like for the next hour or so, we talked solely about Italy. and like, because you knew that me and Amber were going to go to Italy in April. And this dude just sat us down and talked, like had us writing down places to go, his family to see, like a full itinerary for a guy that we had just met, and I was like, wow, what a lovely guy. I think this is going to work out. So
wait till I start having my place in Italy fully going, and I'm going to be getting wine and pesto sauce, and we make tomato sauce here. But like, I want to start giving that as little perks to my clients. It's, you got to have fun with this stuff because it's compliance at the end of the day. You have to do it.
Yeah.
So I found a little niche in the space that I really like. And honestly, accounting, people could say whether it's boring or it's dry or this or that. I find the creativeness in it, and using your creativeness to tell a story behind the numbers. And then what's the next step is like you meet cool people and interesting people. And then that challenges you and makes you, as a curious person, you start to find solutions for these people. Like NFTs, NFTs was new for everyone. I mean, I've been in crypto since 2016. My partner Josh been since 2012. But NFTs is a really new thing. So it was new for everyone. And it's like, how creative can you be in figuring out how taxes are paid with NFTs? And there's 5 different ways. I've had like a whole presentation on this, and how each different scenario is taxed differently. And but again, like you said, like how do we meet? We started talking about other things other than taxes. It's all about relationships. There's like a human aspect to this. Like what we're going to talk about today. Like let's just have some fun. Let's talk about situations. People are going to learn just through osmosis. So just hanging around and listening in.
100%. Like that was one of the things, Alex, that I talked about, because obviously we're buddies, right? We've partied together in Miami and New York and different places. Yeah. Okay. We're talking about that. That's definitely on the list. Yeah. But like the first question that probably is burning in everyone's mind is like, what about filing taxes or, like looking at numbers on a spreadsheet inspired you to be like, yes, that's my calling. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't though. That was.
I know. I know it's not that, but like, what brought you to do what you're doing now?
I mean, I'm an entrepreneur through and through, right? I've been trying to do, be my own boss for so many years from the beginning. I remember being even in high school selling things and whatnot, and as I grew up with in this Italian home. Hospitality was everything. And that's truly what I'm passionate about, is taking care of people. And then I almost fell into accounting, and I almost fell into accounting out of college because I was in the finance field. I went to school for finance. I was in the financial banking program, and that's when the market crashed. It was like back in 2008. And I remember these kids, like they were diehard finance guys, and they were struggling getting jobs. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, my dad's like, you should be a CPA. You can always go back to finance. So my dad really was the one who pushed me to be a CPA, and being a good Italian son, I was like, I got to listen to my parents.
Yeah.
And for so many years, I was funny. We've always had these conversations. I always felt like, Dad, like I should have a restaurant or I should be doing this. But I got to tell you, it was really crypto that almost put the fire under my butt, because leading up to I would say 2017, 2018, what I did was I put my office in a financial services business. And I started my business there. And advisors would bring me into deals. And I started expanding my knowledge outside of just doing regular taxes. How could I help people in other ways? Because, and this is something I'm saying a lot recently, CPAs generally think backwards. You meet with them in April or January, February, March, April, and talk about what happened last year, versus a CFO, financial planner, they think forward. So it's a different model. It's thinking forward, not thinking backwards. So that's what really started to spark me. And I started thinking like, I want to help people. That's how you can help people. It's not thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and then making good decisions now so that when you do file your taxes, you save more money. And that's what really started putting fire under my butt to help people and use that hospitality experience, that restaurant experience I grew up with, and applying it to accounting. Then when crypto hit, like 2020, things really started heating up. I got involved in like 7 different projects. Who's starting a project? Who's raising money? We got to do there's investors. We got to use Locker DX. We're locking liquidity for so much, and then every month it's going to come out, and I'm dealing with all the people. And that's when I saw a real big opportunity. I doubled down. And since then, this has just been so much fun because look, I'm meeting people like yourselves doing really cool NFT projects. We got, music artists that we're working with, celebrities. Now we're going to get into the sports athletes. Like this has been a lot of fun. And crypto has been that catalyst to get me involved and be the people person that I am to help out the type of clients and the type of people that I normally just would be friends with.
Wow. That's cool.
Good answer.
I know. I love that answer too, because it's a classic example of like, if you grind at it, it kind of becomes your passion. That's something that I had struggled with a lot in, years past, is like, I always was envious of people who knew what they wanted to do with their life by like age 18. They had some talent for sports or music or something. And then it was years after reading books and on business and personal development, everything like that somebody said, I can't remember it who's, but like, if you start grinding and you pick a path, it becomes your passion, And I think it's so great that you started with this CPA journey and then crypto came along and made everything 10 times more interesting because of all the nuances, because of the regulatory uncertainty. It's kind of like the wild, wild west in a lot of cases with the SEC or the IRS, because there is no official guidelines that have come out, or at least, they might be starting to now, but crypto has been around for many years.
We've created our own standards. That's the cool part. That's just being the creative, being that entrepreneur mindset that where, okay, this isn't there. I started doing calculations in 2016. One of my buddies, he was involved in the ICO craze, made a ton of money, all offshore. He didn't declare any of it. He's like, I got to come clean with this stuff. He's like, I can't sleep at night thinking about this.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, it's one of the things, I'm more like a money therapist. It's a lot of my relationship with a lot of people.
That's the brand.
Money
therapist. Money therapist.
So, like, so good. People off a ledge, or not from So he was just couldn't handle it, right? So we filed everything, we made him clean. So that's when I started getting into the calculations. And then he introduced me to his friends, and little by little, you started getting more of these clients in the crypto space. I remember buying Bitcoin, it was $300. But what you were saying before about, now this is like a money talk to your followers, right? This is what the purpose of this podcast is.
Yeah.
You said, like, you're right. I was envious too. People at early age knew what they wanted and hit it hard. I was jumping around a lot.
Me too.
And I always made money, but I was never afraid to throw it on the line and risk it. I never was. And I took so many L's before I started taking W's. Like, yeah, you do well for a little bit. And I remember I left accounting after KPMG and I started the restaurant with my uncle. I had it for like 2.5 years, 3 years. I saved up a lot of money, but I used that money after I was done. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I went back to doing the professional stuff. I was hustling on the side. I remember going really hard on investments, and I lost. I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. And I remember right around 2020 is when things started really picking up for me. And started to save a little bit. Like I grinded, I busted my butt. I broke even for like 2.5 years. And that was so hard to stay focused. But I kept saying, like, next tax season is going to be better. I already built what I have. I'm going to build on top of it now. Like, I don't need to work for the firm anymore. I can go on my own now. Like, next year's going to be better. Then the next year's going to be better. And for 2 years, I broke even. And then all of a sudden, like, you do 10,000 a month. Then you're like, I want to hit 15,000. Then you get 15,000, 20,000. All of a sudden, you're doing 50,000, 100,000. Like, you get $100,000 a month. You're like, whoa. But it takes so much time. And honestly, like, in this world that we're so immediate, we need everything right away. And I'm an immediate person. I like things right away and get it done. I'm a results driven guy. It was so hard. The number of nights, like, you pray and you visualize it. Everyone's like, oh, visualize yourself doing this or that. Like, I've done it so much. But now that it's here, what I would say, like, now as I'm growing this, enjoying the process is so important. Like, it really is true. Like, right now, things are cool. Like, we're still growing. I'm nowhere near where we need to be. But we're having fun. Like, enjoy it.
Yeah. Well said. I think that that part that you said about like visualizing every night, that hit me hard because I still do that, you know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
there's nights where, and actually, Alex, I think you and I have an interesting story in that too, because when we started, so Faceless Crypto was started started basically as a Discord, and then it turned into a business. But the Discord was March of 2021, yeah. And then at some point along the way, we incorporated it. But Alex, as a co-founder, when we started talking more seriously about this NFT and like building Faceless Crypto into a business, first of all, he's like, all right, well, I need to go hang out with him in person to make sure he's not a psychopath. So he's like, hey, I'm coming over. I was like, cool. And then also too, like, as you can see, there's a bunch of knives over there on the wall. We had those there or in the room. And Amber was like, we don't know this dude. I don't know if we should have like daggers in the room. Like he could kill us in the night. I was like, no, it's cool. We talk on Discord all the time.
We need to go back a step here to this whole, because Mack's right. It was basically just like, look, we're getting involved with this whole stuff. It feels like a real thing. Like I was thinking to myself, like this could really be something like worthwhile. I need to put a lot of effort into it. So I was going to go out and see them. And then the day I showed up, Mack is at work, and Amber just came to get me, and it didn't hit us until we were both sitting in the car like 15 minutes into the drive to go see Mack at work, where I'm like, you just came by yourself to pick up your husband's internet friend at the airport. And she's like, huh.
Yeah, little sketch on paper, but
yep. I was leaving in my house tonight. So,
you're a product of what I think Web3 is going to do for people, right? Web3,
oh yeah,
people could say like, okay, you're putting a headset on, or you're in a metaverse, or you're just talking through Zoom all the time, whatever. But ultimately, what's going to happen, I think, it's going to almost make the in-person relationship even more valuable. You've converted now what you've built online now in person made it so much more powerful.
Yeah, 100%. And that was that was part of the trip too. Like, we went to this rich area of Dallas, and me and Alex were playing a game like count the G-Wagons or the Rolls Royces or whatever, So we went to this part. And every car there was just something really nice: Bentley, Rolls Royce, G-Wagon, Porsche, etc. And I was trying to, because Alex, if you don't mind me saying, Alex was in the Coast Guard, and I don't know if
we're not raking it in.
I was gonna, yeah, thank you. Like the government is not known for its, lavish salaries, especially the Army or any of the armed forces. So in the Coast Guard, Alex was making not that much money. And I was like, dude, crypto, you have to kind of like visualize that you're going to be driving one of these cars, that you're going to be rich, because if we want to sell this thing out, we're going to have to do it. And we are going to make a lot of money, and then we're going to have that money and going to have to know how to keep building. You know what I mean? And it was actually funny, when we were in the parking lot, we saw this beautiful green Rolls Royce. It was like sparkly green. I still have a picture of it. And the license plate said, "Thanks AMC." THX AMC. So I was like, yeah, that guy's one of us.
Yeah. We actually stood there for like 10 minutes hoping that we were going to catch some like 18-year-old kid walking out of this restaurant to get into his $300,000 custom paint job, Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
I wanted to shake his hand.
But that's why I get along with a lot of the clients. I'm like a degen accountant. I did all this degen crypto stuff for years.
Yeah.
And I was in all these projects. So my situation was almost the most complicated one at one point. So if I could do mine, I could do all these. And that's how it started. You started to meet interesting people, because this stuff is complicated.
Yeah.
Especially from an accounting side. It's complicated.
So Lorenzo, why don't you tell everyone what you do? Like the scope of services offered and what you like to focus on.
Yeah. So out of bare bones, we do the crypto books, bare bones, right? So step one, whenever we meet someone, is we got to get all your crypto information into a tax software. And once all that information's in, whether it's through API connections, CSVs, or manual entries, all that information's in. Now we can look underneath the hood and see and diagnose the problem. What's going on? Do you owe a lot of money in taxes? Do you have a big loss on your books? Do you have a lot of errors? Do you have a lot of liquidity pools you're in? You went to a lot of DeFi projects. You went to these rebasing projects. Are you in like right now? A big thing is like MLP, owns is my liquidity partners thing. So that's all money that just goes out, and then you're getting money that comes in every day. So the best way I explain it is an analogy. If you've ever used QuickBooks, when you get QuickBooks for your business, you attach your credit card and your bank account, and then someone's got to go in there and organize that data. So we do that with your crypto information. So once you have that information done, the next steps are, okay, we're either going to do your tax return or we're going to work with your CPA or tax professional on making sure that's filed correctly. Now, once that's done, that's like step 1 and step 2. Step 3 now is the planning process. So like I said, we like to think forward. We're in July. So now we have the rest of this year, which you should have your stuff ready by January 1st. All our clients by January 1st, all their crypto information is done, ready to go for their taxes. So I'm not even doing their stuff in April. They're already done because we're thinking forward. So I get people onto that mindset. But now that we know that, we could then say, all right, we're going to make $500,000 this year. I'm going to pay some estimated taxes, or what kind of planning can I do to not pay taxes on that? Or defer taxes? What every person's situation is different. And that's where the planning part comes in. That's job 3. So that's the firm, right? I may handle, or touch some part of those 3 steps, but I also have a staff that handles this. The part that I like to play in, and the area I like to play in, is on the advising side. So what's really cool is we're starting to make money with our clients. We have investment opportunities. We have funds. We started a fund at the firm. You have, like today, this call, we were talking to a company, it's a startup that is doing all trusts through smart contracts. So I'm just signed to be an advisor with them. So I'm working with a client like that. We have other advisor clients. So I meet with them, once a week or once every other week. And we go over just what they need for their business, like CFO level work. So those are really the 4 basic services that go through my business. Now, I work with my partner, Josh, on Origins Group, where we have a bigger firm. There's more corporate levels work, bigger trust planning work, bigger just estate planning. If someone's having a liquidity event. We just had a guy sell in the marijuana industry. He was a big company, bought out their lighting business. They were provided wholesale lights, grows. So huge companies, like a $550 million buyout. That guy needs planning to understand what is he going to do. He's got a $10 million payout that he just got. So how can he structure that $10 million to, he's going to pay some taxes, but how can we put it into certain programs or platforms that he can give a little money to charity, maybe pay taxes over time versus in one shot, so he can compound that money. So every situation is different. So we'll sit with people and go over this. And there's, I would say, like almost like a tree that goes for it, like almost a decision-making process. Like, do you do this? Yes. Okay. So now these are your options. No. Okay. These are your options. But to work through that process with the client. And that's where I spend a lot of my time.
Cool.
I want to go back to one of the things you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, because so being in content creation and stuff, you meet a lot of people, and there's a lot of people from different backgrounds that choose to make videos. And one of the things that I've noticed is there's quite a number of CPAs who are into crypto that make videos, primarily on TikTok. And I've always been sort of surprised by how they go about their whole thing, because I always saw that, this is even before I had met you, Lorenzo, and just thought like, wow, that seems like what an opportunity. Like I'm a CPA already, and there's all these continuing education initiatives and stuff like that I could take to learn more about crypto and get into this. This seems like a service that a ton of people are going to need. And I was always mind blown that none of them were like really throwing themselves into it. Like I would see their video, they would post a video that had like a really good piece of information in it. And then the comments, you could just tell like the demand for this as a service, right? Was like, 20, 30 comments, all asking questions like, hey, I'm running into this. What can you tell me about this? And then they would just all go unanswered. And then the videos would like stop. And I was just like, I feel like you're sitting on this gold mine of a new industry that's going to need people. So that's one of the reasons that we got taken with you, because it was like, not only are you capitalizing on that as a need, because like I was pretty nervous about what we were going to do. And, you know, it was starting to really set in more and more like, you know, you really need to have not just a plan for handling this, but like a plan to move forward appropriately. And I mean, everything from how you make money to how it gets organized and how it gets cataloged and tracked and all that kind of stuff. And you were just like the only one out of probably dozen or more CPAs that I know who know about crypto, who are just like, you know, nah, whatever. And it was always very surprised. But I can imagine it's a lot of work to learn that.
It's a lot of work. And I think it helps that I was in it.
Sure.
Because you can have these conversations a lot easier. And I just understand it. And what I can do in 30 minutes would probably take someone who doesn't know this stuff 5 hours. Just to go through, you know, someone like in your case, NFTs. You got to know how to read the blockchain, because a lot of times they don't bring in the NFT prices the right way. So you got to go into the blockchain, look into the explorers, see how much you swap. What was the value of that ETH when you swapped it?
For sure.
But you have to go backtrace.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't know that. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to waste your time. They're going to go back and forth. 2 weeks passes by.
I think that's the other advantage to that too, is that people trust you so much more easily because they're like, oh, this guy is one of us. He knows how to lose a shit ton of money investing in JPEGs. You know? But like seriously though, because you've been in it and you've done it, you know, then that not only makes you more proficient, but more relatable. And Alex and I have said multiple times that, man, you know, this guy is going to be an absolute kingpin in the years to come because it's rarefied air up there, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm also even helping other CPAs learn this. That's another
That's
model
nice.
that I've been focusing time on. I've been handpicking several different CPAs. I got a little firm and I got a person that I've been working with, and I'm going to start expanding that because we need more professionals. I'm okay. You know, you like you said, Alex, you can go put a post up and have 30 people comment. Do you know how much work it takes for 30 clients? And it's not that many people.
Yeah.
30 people is not that many. It's a lot of work. So for me personally, it's like 100 clients is enough. Personally, right? With the firm is a little different. You can scale up, but you don't need that many. So there's not enough. There's not enough of us.
Yeah.
So if I can pass on knowledge, I'm more than happy to do it. And that's where we're making this content, right? Make some content and show people the different case studies and scenarios. But one thing too, I always beware, and Alex, like you said, like, oh, there's all these people making content. And you guys should know this, the Oracle, right? How much time do you spend making content, making it look good, making sure that it's the right, you know, it's a job.
Yeah, too much and not enough. It's never enough, but too much.
What I struggle with most is making content, but actually results of getting this work done. Because that's the thing, building a culture of results.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just be a talking head. You got to actually get shit done. And I think that's one of the biggest differences when I really start getting this page going and I want to start doing more content. I'm having the infrastructure's already set up. That's what I've been busting my butt on, is making sure the business is set up so that when I take that next step to start going out there more and being on podcasts like this and promoting the business and educating and whatnot, that I'm set up behind the scenes, that I'm good and I take care of my business. If I give my word to a client that a return's getting done, the return's going to get done.
And I just want to add to it because so many people don't know, but Amber actually works on your team as well. So my wife, she has been working for Lorenzo since for several months now. And so when she's sitting next to me or in the other room, you know, I can overhear some of these talks, and you guys end up saving people a lot of money. If they go and they use services like what are they called? What are the automated ones?
Intuit stuff?
Any of the crypto, you know, tax things where you like plug in your MetaMask and stuff like that. You know, it might say that they owe $12,000 in taxes, and then working with you guys, you know, they pay you but then they save a lot of money in taxes. So I've seen, I don't know what your focus is. I mean, I know it's more like, building for the future and helping companies. But if there are individuals out there, that are thinking, why do I need somebody like Lorenzo? Because you can save a lot of money. You can not only save from your past, but if you work with him, and depending on the capacity and what your business has, you can save for the future. And that, I think, is the fundamental value. It's like they're paying you so that they can save a ton of money going forward.
Well, and that was something that took me with Lorenzo too, because so far I still owe you a phone call, but
likewise.
I already told you, Mac, I said that we've been working on it next week.
Yeah, I know. That's this week, by the way. But so we got, yeah, it was supposed to be this week, but I said, let's do the podcast first.
But the point is that the one thing I have done with Lorenzo was just to like barely get us set up. And he did that for me. What time was it? Like pushing midnight. And we're texting back and forth to like get something filed to make sure that like the extension request was like in on time or whatever. And he's up at 11 or midnight, like helping me with that. And I was just like, this is a whole different kind of experience. And I remember the moment when it flipped in my head that like I didn't know Lorenzo at the moment that this switch flipped, but thankfully the road led me here. Was just trying to do taxes like normal in TurboTax, because I had done that for years. And we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. And every year, me and my wife would be sitting there doing it. And I would always say the same thing, like next year I'm going to like try to learn more about this, because I know I'm leaving money on the table. I know I'm paying more than I need to, because I know that I have things that qualify as a business expense or whatever, and I don't know how to claim that kind of stuff. And TurboTax doesn't set you up to like make as many claims as you should be able to. And then when I started to get into crypto and I noticed like, oh, cool, TurboTax has a crypto thing, I'm good. And I opened it. And immediately it had like two questions. It was like, did you buy anything? Did you sell anything? And all it wanted was a number for capital gains. But there was nothing in there about, staking or any of this other stuff, or any of the other kinds of trades or capital losses and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. And so I just exited out of the whole thing. And I was like, all right, never mind. Back to square one. And then unfortunately, you kind of just fell out of the sky and landed on us.
TurboTax is honestly a lot of work.
Yeah.
I did it for someone this year. I'm like, because I couldn't put through the system. Crazy story. Won't get into that one. But I go and I do it. I'm like, this is hard. This isn't easy. There's so many questions. It's like,
yeah.
But to answer your question, Oracle, no, and Alex, you said a good point too. A lot of people can save a lot of money. And I'm going to say like 100% of the people that I work with, from what they start with on the capital gains, they end up with a lower number. And there's a lot of reasons for that. So you don't need to have a business. You don't need to make a crap ton of money. You don't, as long as you dealt with crypto, you dealt with DeFi, you dealt with some sort of capacity other than just like Coinbase, you're probably leaving money on the table when it comes to your calculation. Now, why? What crypto softwares don't do a good job of is communication. And it's very difficult. This is not an easy task, and it will get better. There's so much money came into crypto accounting softwares this past year that it's the research money is there to improve. But let's just go to like make an analogy. When you bought crypto on Robinhood, you bought Apple stock on Robinhood, but you also had a TD Ameritrade, and you had Amazon stock there, you couldn't send your Amazon stock to Robinhood. That never was possible. You can never communicate between brokerage exchanges. You can send, but that's a whole process. That's like, you're sending money, like maybe like a rollover to an IRA or whatnot. And that has its own standards and procedures and regulations. Crypto, on the other hand, you can move money every second if you want to. It's a wallet economy. It's much different. So the communication between sending money from each exchange or wallet to another is poor. That results generally in capital gains. It could also result in capital losses. So most of the time, regardless if it's over or under, it's reported incorrectly when you just put the numbers in. Then you also have missing cost basis. A lot of these platforms automatically assume a zero cost basis, meaning that if you sold it at a gain, you'll be responsible for 100% of those gains. So even if you put a $500 cost basis in, that's $500 more your capital gains you're putting on your tax return than what you should have had. So like even if it's a little number, it will make difference on your bottom line on what you.
Lorenzo, real quick, explain the cost basis concept in case people don't know.
Okay, so perfect example. This is an example that's probably going to happen on almost every person who listens that puts their information into a tax software. Comes in, they say, we have one Bitcoin that you sold that doesn't have a cost basis. That means the computer does not know how much you paid for that Bitcoin. What's the cost that you paid for it? So there's two numbers you see on a tax form when you sell something. It's what you sold it for, what you paid for. Then it'll say, what are the dates? So is it long-term or short-term? Do you buy and sell under a year or over a year? It's a different tax rate. But the two numbers you see are what you bought it for and what you sold it for. Was it a gain or was it a loss? Your cost basis is what you bought it for. So what these softwares do, like that you're using and putting all your data in, if something doesn't come in clean, it assumes that you paid zero for. You clearly didn't pay zero for. You paid something for. So by putting anything on there, you're already lowering that gain. You actually might have gotten a loss. So you might have received $2,500, but you paid $10,000 for it. You lost $7,500. But the computer assumed a zero cost basis. So on a transaction that you might have lost money on, it's putting in a gain. So what ends up happening is you see huge swings in capital gains with certain clients that are missing cost basis. And that's one of our process that we have in fixing for every client that walks in the door.
Yeah, that's huge.
So that definitely sounds like one of those things, that you could give as a piece of advice for anybody who's in crypto or in any of this kind of stuff, would just make sure you're recording the date and the time or whatever, and the amount that you're paying for any of the things that you're investing in or any of those assets that you're acquiring.
Absolutely. At a minimum, people are probably going to be saving $2,500. I would say like $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 at a minimum if they doing their calculations right. And that's saying that they made a gain, right? Too. So like, I just think that a lot of these programs just aren't coming in right. So there's just always money being left on the table.
So Lorenzo, is there any advice that you would give to the layperson, who's watching this podcast right now? What can they do, to just better protect themselves going forward?
This year in particular, everyone lost money. Well, let's be real. If you made money today, you're in the 1%. Right?
I was just gonna say you are the 1%, my friend.
If you made money. So knowing that, you want to make sure those losses are recorded because you can keep them on your books. Let's be real. Is the government going to know about 2021? Are they going to go back? I'd say on a rare occasion. They said already that they're not really paying attention for another year to crypto taxes. So this
the IRS
year,
did?
Birdie has told me that they're not too worried about it because there's so many old losses this year.
Yeah.
So they're like, this isn't worth it to put all the time and energy into this right now. Let's focus on the regulation side. How are we going to handle this?
Got it.
That's more of where their mindset's at. Not saying in the future they're going to go back, but right now that's not where their head's at.
Mm.
But you lost money this year. So what I would do is get started now. Get all your information. I like to use Coinly with a K. I don't have an affiliate marketing with them. I actually have a wholesale deal with them. So I buy it at a really cheap, discounted price. So I offer Coinly to all my clients free of charge. So I give them the $500 package and it's included with what I do.
Cool.
But Coinly is a great program that I find to be the most user-friendly and it reads the most DeFi protocols. So put all your stuff, I'm not saying you have to use Coinly, but that's what I prefer. Put all your stuff on there. And if you have missing cost bases and you have errors, now's the time to do it because you can think about it. It's fresh.
What do you
lose money, you lost money.
What do you say about tax loss harvesting? Do you think that if people are down right now, they should maybe sell it and then buy it back in so that they have a lower cost basis, or what do you think?
So that's the easiest tax strategy and the cheapest tax strategy that you could use. You have to involve trust, no business, no expenses, no life insurance, none. This is just buying and selling. Like I said, everyone lost money. So let's say you put a Bitcoin at 40,000. Now it's at 20,000. You can sell that Bitcoin and buy it right back and lock in 20,000 in your books. And now you have a $20,000 loss on your books. But know that 40,000 cost basis that you started at now is now dropped to 20. So now you're at 20. So any gain above 20, you're going to pay taxes on. So what I would say is, for anyone, we did this with almost all our clients across the board this year so far, is reevaluate the portfolio. Are you sitting on an altcoin right now that is probably never going to come back? Dead project.
Yep.
Sell it. Maybe allocate that money into ETH. ETH's $1,000. ETH will go back up again. Maybe put that money into something else. Maybe keep it cash. But reallocate your portfolio and lock in the losses. So now you have that going forward.
And then to be clear, with the Bitcoin example that you had, right? So let's say, just keep it even numbers. I buy a Bitcoin at 40,000, right? It drops to 20,000. So what I can do is I can sell that and then buy it back again, which would take my cost basis for Bitcoin down to 20,000. And it would have a negative $20,000 loss on the books. Going forward, if Bitcoin goes to, let's say, 50,000, then I would have the $20,000 loss with a $30,000 gain, right? So then I'd have a $10,000 profit that I would have to pay taxes on. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's kind of a gamble. That's, I think, why a lot of the people choose to do tax loss harvesting at the end of the year, because it can't go back up in a short amount of time. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I would like to use tax loss harvesting more for not so much the Bitcoin example, because someone who has Bitcoin may not make a difference because they're going to hold it long term.
Yeah.
But more so, I would start reallocating money potentially and using tax loss harvesting as even a byproduct of that. So it's like, okay, I would say 70% of my money either stayed constant or made money during this crash. Because I had it in all these different, platforms. Like Axia, I've been in since like day one. So that makes me interested every day. I have the Forex bot. I have the arbitrage bot. I have the crypto ETH bot. I have my what's it called? The yield farming school. So I have 5 areas that I had money in that all produced income for me during this crash. Now, that might be something that people, and that's what a lot of my clients are interested in now, because, let's say they went from $1 million portfolio, now they got $250,000. It's like, all right, let me throw 50,000 into maybe a couple of these things. So I know that that's making money. I'm going to hold 150,000 in my portfolio, and then I'm going to have 50,000 cash. So like they reallocated it. And now that same example can be made for you with different numbers. Now, let's say you have a $100,000 or a $50,000 portfolio. It's the same thing. I work based off of percentages. I don't really look at the dollar amount. I like to see if I'm making 10% a month or 5% a month, what do I need in order to cover my cash flow? So like some of these investments that we do, they're more cash flow mindset. It's not appreciation mindset. So I say to people, what's your rent? $1,500 a month. Okay. If we're averaging 5% a month on base across these 5 different investments, you need 30,000 in that account. It covers your rent. Every month you have $1,500 that's coming in. So these are the type of things that we do from an advisor side, from an advisor standpoint, like on helping our clients live better, have more freedom. Like that's the name of the game, is having that freedom. That's what money does. I don't look at money Like, oh, I got to be rich. I got to be this. I need that. It's more so the freedom aspect of it. Like, that's the beauty. It allows you to
100%.
do what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I completely agree with that. I say that all the time too.
Because you're not going to do the same thing forever. Like, there's a lot of people, they might be in a business for 10 years and then like, okay, I want to try something different. So the money is just the vehicle that got them to have the freedom to then get to do something that they really wanted to do later on.
There's a statistic that always kind of surprised me, which was that roughly 45 to 50% of people change careers before their age 50. And I always thought that was really interesting because I know how many people either just don't know or mismanage their money, or, you know, they don't have enough savings or whatever. And so if even with all of those figures, almost 50% of people are switching their careers, I wonder how many would switch if they were financially able to do so. And if we were like set up for success from a young age and like money literate and all that kind of stuff, and you had the funds to be able to switch your career as often as you had a new interest. Because I mean, dude, I had 6 different declared majors when I was in undergrad. And the one that I ended up with just basically happened to be the one that won the raffle at like, it was too late for me to switch my major again. So just like, whatever, I got this degree and now I have something. But, you know, I always wanted to know if people just knew more about how to handle it or what to do, or some tips and secrets, because there's so many. I can't believe how much stuff I've learned since like just putting the effort into like figure out what can I be doing to protect myself? How can I be helping the business, you know, set itself up for success and stuff like that later? And how, like, the first time that you told me about some of these strategies, I was like, there's no way that stuff is legal, dude. There's no way. And you're like, then all the way up to the Supreme Court, here's the law. Like, you can read all about it. It's all out there. You just like, no one's going to hand it to you. You have to go digging for it because people don't want you to know this kind of stuff because it's designed.
I don't want you to know. It's just, I feel like, you know, now with the internet, you're starting to see a reshuffle of this stuff. I mean, I'm already seeing it with some of these projects that we're working with, like attorneys, accountants. Like I said, it's a decision tree a lot of time. Yes, every person's situation is different and they need custom tailored advice but at the end of the day, it's like a decision tree. So they're automating a lot of these things. So you're now starting to see more like mainstream just advice, like a lot of stuff that was really kept towards really people who can afford professionals.
Yeah.
Is now starting to become a little more mainstream, which is good.
That is something I wanted to ask you actually. So the most common thing that I hear when I describe someone like you to a friend of mine, just kind of the idea that, and I remember thinking the same thing when my parents got their first accountant, that there was like someone they work with regularly for their taxes. And like, wow, they must be loaded, or like to be at the point where you need an accountant, you've got to be just rolling in it. Can you talk about, because I feel like that's a huge misconception that like conferring and getting counseled by someone who is a financial expert should not be something that you can think, well, I don't even need to think about talking to a financial planner because I'm not a millionaire.
No, that's definitely, obviously, if you're making a lot of money, then there's more of a need, I would say. Like, I think, you know, like I said, I like to go by percentages, not so much numbers. But if you save someone 10%, now 10% of $1 million is 100 grand. It's a lot of money. You know, 10% of 50,000 is 5 grand, which some people that may not be a lot, but 5 grand for someone making 50,000 is a lot of money. You know, that's like how for you to save 5,000 when you're making 50 is 10%. You know, it's just like, so you got to look at it like that, right? Cost benefit analysis as well. It's definitely a big misconception. I think everyone needs it. And I think there's a CPA or a professional for every level. You know, you may not need a trust attorney when you're first starting out, but once you start having kids, once you start having, you know, you buy a house, when you start a business, once you start having assets under your name, then it becomes more of a necessity, because God forbid something happens to you. Do you want your wife to spend 6 months not be able to have access to a bank account or have access to a property that's rightfully yours because it's got to go through probate in court and got to be decided by a judge? So at that point, it becomes more of a necessity. But even if you're a W-2 worker making less than 100 grand, I think it'd be beneficial to at least have a conversation. Let me take a step back. If your mindset is more business driven and you want to grow and you maybe want to start a little side hustle, you want to progress financially, then 100% it's worth an investment to make into any sort of tax professional, because whatever investment you put into that is going to pay back tenfold, potentially in the immediate first year, and then forget about the sky's the limit as the years go by, because then it's up to you to really use the advice to build and compound. Everyone should have one. Everyone should at least have a conversation.
Yeah. I think, like you said, with there being something appropriate for everybody, because we've kind of gone through this like pendular swing of awareness around the need for financial services or financial plan. And what I mean by that is like, I remember when I was younger, we had like one class in school where it was like, this is how you balance a checkbook. And it was like, that was the pinnacle of financial education for my entire K through 12 education.
Same.
That was a long-winded answer to, I think, a really easy answer I could have given. You should, if you go to any sort of financial professional, these are 3 questions that you should ask. It's 1, do you have any sort of clients like me? How have you helped them? And what are the results? So if you're into crypto, you have a W-2, you're thinking about starting a little side hustle, talk to a CPA who goes, do you have clients that are in my situation? Then the answer is, what have you done for them? And then what were the results? So, I created this, we started a side hustle. We were able to deduct their living expenses. So now you're able to deduct your cell phone, that conference that you went to, X, Y, and Z, like your miles in your car, all the subscriptions, that totals, 15 grand for the year. You're at the 30% tax bracket. That's 5 grand. There's your 5 grand right there.
Boom.
That's good. So do you have clients like me? You said, how did you help them and what were the results?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good framework for anyone. I mean, really, that could be applied towards multiple industries as well. you know? Well, you could say that to the mechanic if you pull up in your, I don't know, Maserati.
And right to the point, you don't got to spend an hour with someone. You don't got to hey, I just wanted to ask you, you have clients like me?
Yeah.
What have you done? How'd you help them? This is my situation. I'm in crypto. I got 50,000 in crypto. I'm an electrical engineer. I'm working in the city. I'm about to get married next year. Just tell your situation. It's life events.
No,
every life event has a financial result that needs to come out of it. Like every life event, you have a baby, you have a house, you get married, someone passes away, you hire a nanny, that's a tax deductible thing, so any life event.
I didn't know about the nanny thing. That's going to be clutch.
You can do childcare expenses.
Yeah.
That is super important, I think, for people to hear just how to turn this, into something for them. Because like you said, there's a whole myriad of services and different things and different tax advantages and different strategies that you can, use to help you. But, like I was saying, the stuff that is most forward facing for at least people that I talk to, or the content that I see scrolling through YouTube, TikTok, whatever, it's, there's 2 options, right? You can either not try at all, or you got to incorporate yourself and you got to do this and you got to be, filing under S corp. And it's just very fire hosed and overwhelming. And then I know I did it for a long time. I'm just immediately well, I'm not going to go through all that. So I guess there are no options for me, which is obviously.
You can be a cowboy. Listen, you want to be a cowboy? That's fine with me. I got 4 clients that are cowboys. They're just I'm off the grid, baby. I don't care what you say.
I'm going to Puerto Rico. Hey, Lorenzo, so we're coming up on the hour. I want to ask you two things and be respectful of your time, of course, but kind of going in this conversation that we've been having, is there something in particular that you see a lot of people missing about investing in crypto or NFTs?
Common mistake.
Common mistakes, yeah. Pitfalls to avoid.
Well, one, I don't think people sell out of NFTs at all. So if you're going to have a game plan, I think it's always best to, if you're going to get into a project, maybe buy multiple and then know, like, I'm going to get rid of one kind of thing. Like have a game plan, because I during this crash, I've seen a lot of people have money locked up in very liquid projects. I think really be smarter about the projects that you get into, because, we're not in this huge boom anymore. It's like the ones that are actually providing value, the ones that are going to survive. So, always a good team, good backing, they have a plan, there's a lot of articles about that, like choosing the right NFT project. But from an accounting side, get your stuff set up, because and keep on top of it, like at the end of the month, look at it. Because if you did get into an NFT project, a lot of that stuff doesn't come in right. And if it's fresh, you'll put it down. Like, oh, I paid, 0.2 ETH. That was like, it was $300 at the time. So I make the cost basis $300. Let me just put the calculation in there now, so that I'm not looking at this a year and a half later and thinking about, oh, what did I buy that penguin for? This that pudgy penguin, right? Isn't that one of them? So
conversations I never thought I would have with my accountant. How much did I pay for that penguin?
Speaking of conversations I never thought I'd have, Alex, you and I have talked about this before, but like I was telling, so recently in Elrond world, right, there is a project called the Elrond Ducks, and it's actually going to go right there in that little pit. I'm mirrored, so it's going to go right there. But basically, it's an NFT project. It was one of the very first on Elrond, and they're like 8-bit pixelated ducks with a great community. And they had all anonymous founders, and they basically were just mismanaging it into the ground. So we actually stepped in and worked with the old founders to acquire that project. But when I was calling and telling my parents about it, like I was super proud. Like I'm like, yo, we're acquiring our first business. This is great. But in reality, what we're doing is taking over a Discord and getting like 5,000 JPEGs. I'm like, dude, that's how you acquire businesses in the new age. You just say, hey, mom, dad, guess what? We're buying a bunch of 8-bit ducks. Yeah, it's going to be great.
5,000 ducks.
Yeah. I'm successful now. So it's a wild world that we live in. But you're totally right about like, if you're going to invest in NFTs, if you're going to invest in these crypto projects, for God's sakes, make sure that you can count on them to deliver what they promised the next year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. If they're anonymous, it's not looking good. Even if they are doxed and public figures, what's to say that they have the business acumen to keep that going, or the team, or the structures in place? That's why I'm so hyped on us, because each one of our guys, first of all, we have a team of 12 to 14, depending on who's in town. But we have a bunch of professionals that have full-time working jobs, except for me and Alex, we're full-time crypto now, but who are, consultants, who are sales and marketing experts, who are developers, CTOs, co-founders of their own projects, guys like that aren't just going to make a shitty project and bounce. So
reputations, careers, like all kinds of things that depend on them not being malicious, nefarious, shady individuals. And I would say doxing is the bare minimum. Like see that is a bullet point for so many projects. Like, it can't fail because they said who they are. It's like, yeah, well, they might suck at their job.
Yeah, they could still fail just like any other business. You know what I mean?
Just because I know his name is Kevin doesn't mean that he's going to run a successful business or something like that. So
they need to have money. Unfortunately, it is what it is. The burn rate on this stuff is just like absurd. So
and people aren't focusing on that as much. People forget that that's the lifeblood of business. Yeah,
you need cash flow.
Yeah. So all right, last story. The arm.
Yep.
That
was a great night. Set the scene for us.
So we went to that place. Mack and I were walking around. We ran into these two ladies.
This is in Miami, by the way. This is at one of the parties that we co-hosted after What, Bitcoin Miami? Was it in April?
Bitcoin Miami with
Bitcoin Miami.
NFT, yeah.
Yeah.
Gigi and I remember the other woman's name.
Something Eastern European.
Yeah.
Helga?
It was something like that.
Okay.
And Gigi had really good shoulder muscles, we were saying, but
Shredded.
this woman was really interesting. She owned a gold mine in Africa or like Guatemala or something like so. She's a wealthy woman, and we saw them. We were talking to them, and all of a sudden, I see this arm. It was a mannequin arm, and they were taking pictures. We had to take a picture of them or whatever. And I gave the arm, and I used the arm as a prop, and then I started walking around with this mannequin arm, this purple mannequin arm all night, like dancing with it. We brought it to the bottle pool, like a table area. Everyone was holding the arm, playing with the arm, dancing with the arm. And then I drove my Vespa there that night. I decided to take the arm home with me. So there's something happened. There was like 40 cops outside. And so I'm riding back and forth. I got this arm hanging out my shirt. I'm riding my Vespa flying to the cops. I got this arm. And now I got this purple arm sitting in my condo in Florida.
It's part of the decoration, dude. I can't wait to see it.
First of all, the single most Italian way you could have driven home from that party on your
facts. In a Vespa. Yeah. So yeah, we've had some good times, and you're in New York right now, but you're kind of half in New York and half in Miami, right?
Yeah. Be back in Miami soon. Actually, got to go back. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm meeting one of my clients. I haven't met him in person. He's from Colorado, but he'd be in Florida for interesting investment opportunity. It's like this gold trader or whatnot. So he's putting some money in. So he wanted me to come down. He thought I was down there. So he's like, just come by. Let me see you. I'm going to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to meet him there. And then we're going together on Saturday, spend a few days in Florida, and then I'll come back next week.
Nice.
And then I'll be back after October to go to Italy for 3 weeks in October.
All right.
Maybe a good wrap up would be just to let everyone know, and we can add it to the show notes and stuff, but how to find you, how to get in contact with you, your firm.
Yeah.
If anyone has questions or wants to.
So we do a free 15-minute consultation. So someone from the team will, 15 minutes, ask them questions you want, and, even just an inquiry, whatever. Then you can go to LorenzoTax.com, just to schedule a call. And get us in contact there. You can hit on all social media at LorenzoCPA. And info at Lorenzo Tax, or clients, if you want to email me personally, clients at Lorenzo Tax, email me personally. If you have any questions or whatnot, if you want to set up an appointment with me personally, feel free to just shoot an email and we'll get right back to you.
There you go.
All right. Well, Lorenzo, it was a pleasure. Thank you both for being on here today. We'll hang out again soon. We're probably going to be heading to Miami in the fall, and Alex is just a few hours drive from there.
In August, I'm speaking at one of the events in Palm Beach.
All right.
In Palm Beach.
There you go.
Great. Everyone, pay attention to this man. He's going to be omnipresent in the years to come. So he's been great for us, and we can't recommend him highly enough. Got to get your money right,
Yeah.
But thank you all for being here. Until next time.
Let's get to work.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Rising Up. Hey, before you go, I've got a quick favor. Would you please take a second to leave us a rating and a comment or quick review? Aside from listening, it's the most important thing you can do to help our show, and we really appreciate it. If you want more from our team, be sure to follow us on Twitter at The Faceless Many. That's where you'll find the link to our Discord server and all the latest updates. If you'd like to be on our show, if you have questions for our team, or if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, send us an email to hello, that's HALLO, at facelesscrypto.com, or get in touch through the contact form at our website. Thanks again for listening to the official podcast of the Financial Revolution. Until next time, rise up.
Rising up, blooper reel.
Is there an outro that Evan does?
Does he?
We've been We've been the Oracle and Alex.
I've used this. It's not bad. You can do an outro on this. You got to have like on the side panel.
Yeah.
He can probably cut his in too.
Yeah. Just come in like a hi. Thanks for listening. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice.
Just a reminder, I was there with the arm.
Right. Yeah, we'll just cut it at that.